All right, guys, it's Brad with Tactical Dev here. We're going to take a look at the Romeo-X Compact Optic on the FDES Works slide, ported and comped. Boom. And we got a little digital night camo macro frame here. Of course, our trigger, our base pad, and our pro ledge up here. But what we're gonna focus on in this video is the optic and how some proper techniques for mounting your optic and just some best practices so you don't strip the screws, so you don't screw something up horribly before you get a chance to use it. So first thoughts, it's a little bit overpriced. For $20 more, you can get a closed emitter, but I do love the looks from that side because that side has the battery tray. So boom, guys, this is something we're actually gonna start running, no magwell, and we're gonna also run it with a spare +2, just something that we're gonna start trying out. So this will be our new carrier right here. If this is something you wanna build, we're gonna have links in the description to FDES, to optics, to everything on our website and FDES Works. So guys, hit us up, boom. We'll even show you where to get the correct matching QBO, quick pile and over holster in digital night camo. All right, guys, let's jump to it. Let's show you this optic from the start. We have the Romeo-X Reflex for the X Compact. That's what they're calling it, the Romeo-X Reflex. This one happens to be the Compact. There's two versions. One fits the standard 365 slides, and the other fits the Delta Point Pro. So this one will fit the RMSC style footprint, which is kind of standard among subcompacts, and then the Delta Point Pro on the full size. This is the RMSC cut, so we're gonna go ahead and open this up. I got this in. I wanna just disclose, I paid half price for this. So as a manufacturer of Sig accessories and that I sell some of their stuff, I buy enough of their stuff to sell on my site that they give me a friends and family discount. It's a limited thing. I don't get it on everything. I think it's a certain amount of optics, certain amount of firearms per year, but I did pay 50% for this for personal use. So with that, I'm still gonna be honest and let you know my thoughts. But let's go ahead and open this up. Boom. We've got the manual here, some foam, nothing overkill on packaging and nothing too little. I think it's perfect. You don't need fancy, crazy packaging, just needs to be safe. So we've got an accessory kit here. It has optics, optic battery, optic screws. We're gonna go over that and little Allen keys. Of course, you got your gel and then your optic. So here we are, got all that out. We're gonna go ahead and set the box aside now. And let's just get straight into the optic. So you've seen it around. It was announced about a week and a half ago, and here it is. So you got your buttons recessed there, so they're not accidentally pushed. You got your side-mounted battery. It's pretty big on the side, but if you're right-handed, that's not against your body, not a big deal. It is a very low cut. You've got some fiber optics in the rear. That's great if you have a Gen 1 slide on the 365 where you don't get a rear sight. That's great. But newer 365 slides have the sights behind them now. So just gonna go ahead and take a look at this. I really do like the aesthetics of it. The angle's pretty cool. Yeah. So let's set that down. Let's just go over some specs here, guys. I wanted to touch base on this. I saw a few inconsistencies on the website versus what the manual says. So we've got here 7075 aluminum housing for the compact model, includes the fiber optic rear sights. So I'm assuming on the Delta Point footprint one, it doesn't. Low deck height to co-witness, high efficiency point source LED emitter with 2 MOA dot, 3 MOA circle, or 6 MOA dot. Now this one I don't see 6 MOA anywhere on the website. I'm assuming this was a copy and paste from some of their other optics, that you can buy it in the 2 MOA, 32 MOA, or in the 6. I'm hoping the case is not that when I turn it on and I change it to dot only, it's 6, because that's kind of how I read that, was 2 MOA dot with the 32 circle, and then if you turn it to just a dot, it's 6 MOA. That's a deal breaker for me. 6 MOA it covers too much of the target for my eyes. I don't think that's the case. I just think that's a discrepancy. We're gonna check it out. Independent brightness adjustments with protective plate, 15 settings, 12 daylight, 3 night vision, side mounted 1632. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. I wanted to touch base on the battery. So we've got the 1632s here. It's thicker. It's a bigger battery. The Holosuns use a 1620. It's very thin, so it's like half the thickness. So 70 milliamp. Let's see if this has it on here. It does not have it anywhere. Does not say anything about the milliamp, but I assume because it is a thicker battery, and we can pop these out. The reason that is that case is to get this side load, it's really thin. And so it is a smaller battery. If you have solar backup, not a big deal. This does claim a 20,000 minimum hour on medium for dot only. Let's go on. MOTAC, motion activated. That's great. If your gun's not moving, the optic shuts off, saves battery. Dark, that is great if you have night vision. If you don't, ignore it. IPX7, that's great. 1 meter underwater, completely submerged. Designed, developed, tested in the US, of course, but of course assembled or made in China. 6-hour electro-optic warranty. So on the website, they had something they call the, let's go ahead and pull that up. So on the website, they have something called, let's go ahead and scroll here. This is the Romeo-X. If you scroll down far enough, you will see the 2 versions. So here's the actual retail pricing. $409 for what we're showing here, and $460 for the Delta Point. And again, doesn't say anything about a 6 MOA on here. So I'm thinking that's just a copy and paste from previous optic manuals. But here's where some of the things differ. I don't see anything in the instructions about Magnetech. And so if you look into Magnetech, that's just a feature they have where if you put a magnet in a certain spot, it'll shut off. And that is really good if your holster supports that. Because then when it's holstered, the motion activated, because you're carrying it, it's on, but the magnet is in the right spot telling it that it can be shut off. We're gonna explore that. We're gonna grab a magnet and we're gonna kind of move it around and check that out and see if that is an option. We do have to put a battery in first, so we'll go through that. So that's something that I see here, and that could just be, it's saying Magnetech, and it could just be on the larger version. I do have their Romeo 2 that has that, and it actually comes with a cover with a magnet. But that's for pistols. That is great if you find a holster that supports that, and we're gonna check to see if that's even a thing. Jumping on real quick, I forgot to, while I was at my shop, check for the magnetic function. So I got this 9mm shell with a magnet embedded, and I'm gonna put this on end and try to show you. I don't have a tripod at home, but you should be able to see. Let me go ahead and get it to focus on here. So you see the red dot. I'm gonna put the battery right here. There, it turns off right there, boom. So it's grabbing onto the slide. So right there on the optic, it's on, it's off, on, off, on, off. So it does have that feature on the Romeo-X Compact. That's really cool. So what that's gonna do, if you get holster manufacturers embedding that magnet right here on their holster, Anyone that wants to take the time and do that, sorry, let me unzoom lock. So if they figure out a way to maybe aftermarket accessory that we can figure out, or just the holster maker is going to make it easier because it's going to be hard to make that universal. Whereas if you embed that magnet on the holster, it will, sorry, no tripod. We're not going to attempt to do that. But having that on the, in the holster will make it so that you're not losing battery when you're carrying, because it does have the shake awake, but you're walking, so it will always be on. But if the holster has a magnet there, it will not be on until you draw it out of the holster. So that will save your battery and make your battery last way longer, way longer. So cool feature. Let's go back to the normal video at the shop. Thanks, guys. There's some features here. Again, this page is for both, so it's a little confusing. This will say 10mm rated. I'm assuming that's for the larger version. Open emitter. This is an open emitter. A lot of people, because of this first thing, says inspired by mil-spec Romeo M17, which is not an open emitter. They think this is a closed emitter, which it is not. So a little bit disappointing. The rumors are that it will come out with an open emitter version, but time will tell. So I don't see anything else new here other than what we have, what we've already discussed. So let's go ahead and let's just talk about mounting the Optic. So I've got a slide here. This is a FDES Works slide, comped slide with ported barrel. And then I put a DPM spring in there. So we're gonna go ahead and open up the little accessory kit here. We have our 1632, which is a thicker battery. It's better, I like that. They could have made the side lump thinner by going to the other one, but then they're sacrificing battery life. So there we are. So first thing we're gonna do, which is very great, is to check the screws. Depending on your slide, these ones obviously look too thick. You want to manually check the threads before an Optic. So this is very good practice. Clean the threads out if you've taken anything off, if there were screws in there before, and then just hand thread it in there. And if they engage good, they're the right size. Once it hits that blue Loctite, then you might get it to be a little tighter. You can go ahead and grab a tool and just be like, okay, yeah, that is right. So you know which screws to use. One thing I'm gonna do also, because these screws look very long and it's an aftermarket slide, it is not the Sig slide. I assume they're including the right screws. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put one in, and I'm just gonna set it, I try to set it flush to see, okay, so we got that much screw length going in. I think we're good there. So that is not too much screw sticking out. So now we grab our Loctite. So even though we have the little blue stuff here, it's always good to put fresh Loctite. All right, so we grab our Loctite. We're gonna kind of clear the board here. We know what screws we're using. And yeah, let's just go ahead and put a little Loctite on here. Only those bottom threads are ever going to touch anything, so there we are. And then we're going to mount this thing on here. Go ahead and check the fit. Everything looks good. Ooh, zero movement. That's a good cut. Good fit. And then we're going to put the screws in. And the directions do give you a torque setting, so we'll show you that here momentarily. Now you want to make sure, a lot of people strip or break their threads, so you want to make sure that you're not cross-threading. A good practice on that is to spin it backwards a few spins. That'll kind of line up the threads and then put them in, but never force it. Even when you have a tool, never force those threads. Worst case scenario, you got the wrong threads, something's in there, or you got some old Loctite in there and it's tight. So go ahead and just clean it out. Clean out the threads. All right, we're gonna put this other one in. All right, guys, go ahead and comment while we're doing this. What are your thoughts on the Romeo-X? Just from what you saw, whether it was online in the emails that Sig sent out, or maybe even some of our content earlier on our Instagram. What are your thoughts on the Romeo-X? If you heard mine, I do love the design of it. It looks great. It has some good features, good potential. Some features that aren't necessary because those are going to be covered. But you see that thing lines up, boom. All right. All right, so we got those in there just finger tight. We're going to get the torque wrench, torque those down to spec. If you don't have a torque wrench, I highly recommend the little Fix-It Sticks gun kit. I actually think they changed the name of it. I don't know what it's called now, but it comes with this little torque wrench that has all of them on there. And so you can just, and I've never had, it comes with, just seems to happens to be every bit you would need in the gun world. And so the only thing I find is that sometimes that is in the way. Let's go ahead and check that. Yeah, see, we're gonna have to be at an angle here. So we're gonna get an extension and run that. Grabbed our extension here. We just have some Milwaukee tools in the shop here, and we can torque that down. I'm gonna double check. Right here, it gives us our torque specs. Turning on and off, torque specs, 24 inch-pounds or 28 inch-pounds. Sig Optic pistol slide only. 24 inch-pounds right here. 24 inch-pounds and go. All right, we got 24 inch-pounds. So we're just gonna watch this dude right here when it gets to right at the 25. And I might have to do this twice because I don't want to look through the camera for this. But you want to see that line and you want to line up the 25 with that. Stay focused, come on. About right there. Do it over here. $25 and set. All right, we got those on. Let's set that aside, and we're gonna do one more thing, guys. I have a black paint pen. We're gonna make sure that it's not putting out too much paint. And we're just gonna mark it right here. And the black's not gonna show good, so when I have my red paint, I'm probably gonna do that. But that way, we'll be able to see if that rotates, that we are not tight anymore and our optic is not reliable. I typically have a little red paint pen or a red paintbrush that's really fine tipped, and I run it with that. Sometimes, again, not all of them, because not all of them I actually shoot. I have a lot of these 365s. So we also want to just note here, you don't want to get the paint on the emitter, so don't let the paint come down in there on accident. Okay, so we've got some kind of witness marks there. Let's go ahead and figure out what the best tool is to take off the optic cover. So we're gonna go ahead and put a battery in there. You're gonna see this thing's gonna scratch real easy because it's a sharp edge. That's fine, that's why I have a black paint pen, or you can use some anodizing fluid. I'm just gonna use Leatherman Wave, the little flat bit here. See how that works. Oh, it came up pretty easy. All right, so it's got a big plus in there, 1632. We're gonna use the one that came with it. It's just to cut it, but yeah, this battery's really in there, so you just want to go ahead and cut it. Dropping things, guys, making a mess. It's life. Getting our battery out. Just gonna put it in there plus side into the tray. And same thing, we do not want to cross thread these. The Trigicon SRO is the easiest thing to mess up. That was pretty simple. Tighten her down. Boom. We got our cool scratches. I, for one, love some good scratches, but we're gonna just use an Aluma Black for touch-up. We're assuming this is aluminum. I'm sure it is. And see if that works. So what it does is just let it sit for a little, and it should blacken any exposed aluminum. I have a liquid one too. The pen's getting kind of old, so we might go do that later. And that is our Optic. So I'm gonna look through it, and I'm gonna change some settings. It's really bright right now. And then I'm gonna go to the 2 or the non-circle. I don't really do the circles much, not a fan of them. Which, correct? Hold down. Yep, there we go. It's at a dot. And to be honest, guys, this one feels a little bit less clear than the one that I saw at the Sig Academy. It looks a little bit fuzzy. I'm gonna just take it off camera. Okay, no, it is not fuzzy. I looked at it off camera. It is great. It's crisp. It's just probably, I've got three studio lights over here. And so it's all over the place. So let's go ahead and look at it kind of next to the Holosun 407K, or similar footprint to the 507K. So here we are. It's probably a little bit closer to the size of the EPS, but again, the EPS is enclosed, so I don't really want to compare it to that. It's actually closer to that in price point also, being 509. That's quite up there. I did notice the glass gives a little blue hint at the top, tint at the top, but I did not see any magnification at all. So let's go ahead and put that on a little macro here, so we can handle it like normal, not so. All right, guys, there is our, we're gonna call that just a P365 Macro, because it is using an XL length barrel, and then the comp is in front of it. So I talked to Will at FDES Works. What he did different with his Gen 2 slides, I believe they're called Gen 2, please correct me in the comments, anyone, is he gave it an expansion chamber instead of just what the macro slides do, just like an open, it's just like an open chamber and then opens up also. This one actually has an expansion chamber so the gases can get in there, push up, and then push out after the bullet pushes out. Whereas the macro is slightly different. And then of course the ported barrel. I don't know how much I love the idea of a ported barrel, putting that this is all fire right in front of your lens, and I'm sure it's just gonna put more gases back. Not a big deal, maybe. We'll try that out. We'll take this to the range as is. We're actually gonna put our little +2 on a mag. Just give it a little extension there. This is the night camo. We have a few of these left on the website. We just had a guy Cerakote some for us, Alex, and they turned out great. I wanted to keep one of these and a full OD green one. So I'm actually gonna start running this for a little bit, see how I like the slide, see how I like the comp, see how I like the Optic. So, and then one thing real quick that I always do with the Optic when I mount them is I will zero the Optic to the irons. So like, let me check. So right now it's really close. It's a little bit off to the left. And so I'll just go in here and adjust these before I go sighted in. That way the dot's lined up with the irons. I can shoot the irons, or I can shoot where the dot is. And from there I've got kind of like almost like a base, just where it is. And again, I put these irons on, so they're not gonna be 100%. I can adjust the irons too. But that's a great starting point. Go to the range, get on a bench, indoors best, get on a bench bag, put your range bag on the bench, prop yourself on it, take really slow, crisp shots without any trigger jerking or hand jerking or anything like that. Stop jerking it, guys. So there we are. That is the Sig Romeo-X Compact open reflex sight, side loading battery. This side looks goofy as all get out with the big old bump there. But overall, looks to be a little bit smaller window, but maybe lower. It's definitely better than the Vortex Optic. That thing was garbage. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna say hold off on grabbing one if you don't have an Optic or you're looking to upgrade. $409 is a pretty high price point for what you're getting. You can get the Hollow Suns for less, and you can get for that price, I believe. Let's go ahead and pull that up. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and pull that up. If you're not familiar with our website, we try to make it easy. It's always hard because this gun is so modular, but we try to give you all the options like this. So if you have an X, if you have a macro, you click it and you should have everything that would fit yours. But because you're able to pick and choose parts, it's a little bit harder there. So optics and lights. So this is MSRP. So EPS carry you can get for $388. So that's cheaper. This is the the MRS one is $470, but the 2 MOA, which is comparable, the red 2 MOA, which is comparable, it $430. Which one was? Oh, so okay, let's see. The 6 MOA is the $388. This is 2 MOA. So I'm sure you can find these cheaper, but this is probably the closest comparable as far as there's no solar backup. It's 2 MOA red, $239.35 versus $409. So, but this is enclosed. So for $28, $30-ish, is it worth having enclosed? I'm gonna say yes, but we'll leave that up to you guys. So we're just gonna give it a run and see how it goes. So thanks, guys. If you have questions about any of this setup here, drop them in the comment. We will jump in here and try to get it going, get it answered. This is our trigger. We Cerakoted the frame, and we make a bunch of different accessories also if you're not familiar with us. And we'll link FDES in the product description, in the video description, if you're interested in his slides or barrels. But yeah, great look on the Optic on this side. That side, it's a little goof, but that's okay. We're gonna give it a try for the 50% off that I paid. Pretty good price for that, but again, I just showed you, you can get the Hollow-Sun EPS 2 MOA red for a couple bucks more, and it's enclosed. And what is enclosed? What does that matter? If you're not familiar, the enclosed is gonna give you a second pane of glass over here, so the emitter cannot be obscured. So right now, if I put my finger right there, there will be no dot displayed. Not a big deal because I'm never going to put my finger there. But the other day I was running a competition with my SRO on my staccato, and it started raining on us. And in the holster, I was in a duty holster. In the holster, it was just raining on it. And so if you get rain on there and you happen to get it on the little emitter, it will distort or completely block the emitter. So if you know you're going to be in adverse conditions, maybe you carry and you're a construction worker, or you carry and you do a lot of travel that is outdoors, mud, rain, closed emitter is probably the way to go, just so you don't have that possibility of the emitter being blocked. Because if that emitter's blocked, you have nothing, you just have irons. So not a deal breaker if you've got your irons as backup. So there we are, guys. Again, any more questions, please leave them in the description below. We'll jump in and try to get it updated. All right, guys, before we go, we're gonna go ahead and drop a light on here with the Pro Ledge. So we need to do a video on the different Pro Ledges we have now, since we have a few versions. If you don't run a light, we've got a version for no light, and we have a version for light. And the reason we did that is if you want to run a light, get this one. It'll keep that light up close to the pistol. So there we are. Great spot for your support hand. Great way to control recoil. We happen to have a matching holster here from QVO. Boom. That is cool. What do you think, guys? Drop it in the comments. So there we are. Boom. Let's run it. All right, so it's mounted up. There we go, guys. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the follow, and share it. We don't monetize because it's gun related. We just do this to get information out there. The new Optic, FDesWorks slide, some of our accessories, and just, you know, everyone likes to customize their gun. So here we are. This is another option. There are infinite options out there. What do you think of this? Leave it in the comments. Thanks, guys.